Welcome back to Ronin Recap. Now on to the next chapter.
When the students said this, they subconsciously looked at Lin Fan with mocking eyes. At the same time, they secretly distanced themselves from Lin Fan. It was as if being too close to Lin Fan was a loss of status. Chin Yuwan was the only exception. After entering the private room, Chin Yuwan's beautiful eyes quickly scanned the room. When she caught sight of Lin Fan, she paused for another 2 seconds, causing their eyes to meet. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. At this moment, silence was better than words. Soon, exquisite dishes were served and filled up the large table. There were fragrant beef ribs, steamed fish, grilled pork, and many others. I think there'll only be the few US today. It's a rare occasion for us high school classmates to get together. I suggest that we all raise our glasses to make a toast. Cheers! Cheers! The lively class reunion began. It had not been long since everyone tucked in when Hu Jinsong, who was wearing a checkered shirt, walked in. He first placed the car keys to his BMW on the table. "I'm sorry, my old classmates, I'm late. The traffic was too heavy." He cupped his fists. "I'll punish myself by drinking a glass of wine." After Hu Jinsong finished speaking, he immediately poured himself a glass of wine and poured it down his stomach. "Hu Jinsong, not bad. You've already bought a BMW?" Wang Hao asked curiously. "It's just a BMW 5 Series. It's nothing." Hu Jinsong casually waved his hand. "That's still a luxury car." Wang Hao exclaimed. "Nah, that's not considered a luxury car." Hu Jinsong waved his hands frantically and said, "You don't know what kind of car was parked next to me. That Lamborghini Aventador is so awesome. F***CK. A Lamborghini Aventador? We have this car in Zhongbei?" Shen Liang was shocked. "Yeah, I didn't expect it either." Hu Jinsong nodded. "A Lamborghini Aventador would cost almost 10 million yuan here. I wonder which godly tycoon it belongs to. My BMW only has 252 horsepower. The Lamborghini has a V12 engine with 700 horsepower and an acceleration of 2.8 seconds for 100 kilometers per hour. It'll definitely feel like you're flying." The more Hu Jinsong spoke, the more excited he became, and his entire body began to shake. Following that, Hu Jinsong's eyes swept across the room. When he saw Chin Yuwan, who was like a fairy, his eyes lit up. "Beauty Chin, I didn't expect you to attend the class reunion today. I haven't seen you for a few years, and you've become more and more beautiful." However, Chin Yuwan only smiled politely and did not say anything more to him. Hu Jinsong could not help but feel a little embarrassed. Then, he turned to look at Yang Wenshu, who had heavy makeup on, and her husband. "Beauty Yang, President Du. I didn't expect you two to be here. Today is a good occasion. I'll give you a toast." Hu Jinsong raised his wine glass and called out. "Hu Jinsong, you know Yang Wenshu's husband?" asked Wang Haoqi. "Of course. President Du is a famous big shot. It's all thanks to President Du that I could get my BMW 5 Series. Do you know what kind of car President Du is driving?" "A Porsche Cayenne," Hu Jinsong said. "Amazing. He's actually driving a Porsche. That's a super luxury car," Wang Haoqi exclaimed. "It's just a Porsche. It's not as good as that Lamborghini," Dulé, who had a beer belly, said with a smile. "Rich people nowadays aren't interested in cars much. They're more interested in watches instead." As Dulé spoke, he revealed the gold-colored Rolex on his wrist. "Rolex!" Hu Jinsong exclaimed, "You even have a Rolex?" "Yes, the poor are interested in cars, and the rich are interested in watches. President Du, you're indeed worthy of your reputation." "A Rolex? Furthermore, it's golden in color." "It's obvious that it's expensive," someone said in a low voice. Dulé said proudly, "It's not that expensive. It's just an ordinary Rolex, hee hee." Hu Jinsong gave him a thumbs up. President Du is rich, and Yang Wenshu is beautiful. You two are a perfect match. A match made in heaven. Speaking of which, there used to be a guy called Lin Fan in our class. He used his pretty face to pester Yang Wenshu. Luckily, Yang Wenshu didn't accept his confession. In order to please Yang Wenshu and Du Lei, Hu Jinsong twisted Yang Wenshu's failure in pursuing Lin Fan romantically into Lin Fan's persistent pursuit of Yang Wenshu. He was really good at twisting the truth. Of course, I didn't accept him. Yang Wenshu said. What's the use of a pretty boy? I was destined to marry Du Lei. As she spoke, Yang Wenshu waved the Gucci bag in her hand and threw Lin Fan a disdainful look. It was as if she was saying, Lin Fan, didn't you reject me back then? Now, in my eyes, you're just a poor loser. Since they kept picking on him, Lin Fan decided to stop caring about their relationship as classmates. Otherwise, others would think that he was a pushover. Lin Fan touched his chin and recalled, I was the one who pursued Yang Wenshu? Is that why she took the initiative to show me a certain part of her body? Oh, I think there are 3 moles on that part. After hearing this, Du Lei's expression transformed into a twisted one. 3 moles? It was Yang Wenshu's most private part. Yang Wenshu actually took the initiative to show it to Lin Fan? Back then, Du Lei married Yang Wenshu because she was innocent and adorable. Now, it seemed that she was not innocent at all. She was simply a whore. Honey, don't listen to his nonsense. Yang Wenshu quickly said. Humph. Du Lei only gave a muffled groan and ignored her. At this moment, Hu Jinsong seemed to have just noticed Lin Fan's arrival. He said, Lin Fan, you're here too? Yang Wenshu was the most beautiful girl in our class. It's not a big deal that you liked her. Who in our class didn't like her? We're just talking about some trivial matters that took place in high school. You don't have to be angry over this, right? He was obviously trying to say that Lin Fan was making up nonsense and being petty. Then, I'll talk about the trivial things that happened in high school, Lin Fan said. Everyone, do you still remember the school's dormitory manager, Auntie Wang? When Hu Jinsong was in his 2nd year of high school, he got together with her for quite a long time. By the way, are you two still together? Whoosh. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Hu Jinsong with incomparable shock. The dormitory manager, Auntie Wang, was almost 40 years old. She was short and fat, and it was said that she had never been in love. In fact, in private, many people called her an old virgin. Hu Jinsong and a woman like that were together for a period of time. Did he have such weird preferences? At this moment, one of Hu Jinsong's high school dormitory mates suddenly recalled that he used to play games with Hu Jinsong in an internet cafe until midnight. Despite it being past curfew, Hu Jinsong would bring him along and swagger into the dormitory. At that time, he was glad that the dormitory manager, Auntie Wang, had forgotten to close the door. From the looks of it now, it was not that Auntie Wang had forgotten to close the door but that she had deliberately left the door open for Hu Jinsong. Hu Jinsong's face flushed red as he shouted, Lin Fan, you're talking nonsense. When the crowd saw his expression, they immediately understood. All of this was probably true. At this moment, the atmosphere in the private room was tense. Someone stood up and tried to smooth things over. It hasn't been easy for us to meet up. Come, let's have a drink. Yes. Let's have a drink. Thus, everyone stood up, raised their glasses, and drank to their heart's content. The atmosphere in the private room eased a little after drinking. The people there began to chat with each other, and they occasionally laughed. It had to be said that Hu Jinsong did indeed have good communication skills. Soon, he became the focus of the room. Hu Jinsong shot a glance at Lin Fan, who was sitting in a corner without saying a word. Lin Fan, why aren't you saying anything? He asked. Hu Jinsong's tone was extremely relaxed and indifferent. It was as if he had already forgotten that Lin Fan had exposed his scandal with Auntie Wang in public. After a pause, he continued, Oh, right. Lin Fan, when you finished high school, you went straight to work. You must have earned quite a bit, right? What kind of car did you buy? Lin Fan's salary is only a few thousand yuan. Why would he buy a car? I don't think he's even able to take care of himself. Wang Haoqi sneered. In high school, Lin Fan was tall and handsome. Furthermore, he was especially good at his studies. He could be said to be an influential person in his class. As a result, many girls in the class were in love with him. Wang Haoqi was very jealous of this. Now that he saw Lin Fan in such a bad state, he took the opportunity to mock him. He felt like a nobleman stepping on a beggar. What? His salary is only a few thousand yuan? Hu Jinsong said, feigning surprise. Lin Fan did not care about any of this. How childish. In his opinion, all of this was too childish. However, even if he ignored them, it did not mean that they would let him off. Ha! Hu Jinsong was surprised. Lin Fan, you're wearing a watch too? It looks pretty good. Come and let us admire it. Lin Fan said calmly, it's just a watch. There's nothing to admire. Don't say that. We're all classmates here. We're just finding a topic to talk about. Don't worry, we won't break it. Even if I break it, I promise to give you a new one, Hu Jinsong said. Yeah, we're just going to be looking at it, Wang Haoqi said. Shen Liang seemed to be curious and advised, Lin Fan, why don't you show it to everyone? Lin Fan's impression of Shen Liang was not bad. Seeing that he chimed in, Lin Fan placed the Vacheron Constantin Tour de Lille on the table. Hu Jinsong tossed it back and forth between his two hands a few times before saying, it has some weight. What brand is this? Wang Haoqi asked. It looks alright. My friend, Xiao Bo, is a watch expert. Just send it to him and he'll know. Hu Jinsong did not even bother to ask Lin Fan for his permission. He immediately took a photo of it and sent it to his friend. He wanted to show off his strong connections and mock Lin Fan. Unfortunately, Xiao Bo did not reply immediately. Let's wait for a while, Hu Jinsong said. He might be busy. When Shen Liang first saw the Vacheron Constantin Tour de Lille, he was stunned and could not help but ask, Lin Fan, how much did you buy this watch for? I didn't spend any money, Lin Fan said. He was not spouting nonsense. This was because he had gotten the watch from a red packet. You didn't spend any money? Lin Fan, don't tell me that this watch is a free gift from when you bought something? Wang Haoqi laughed. So, it's a gift? Hu Jinsong asked. Lin Fan, you should have said so earlier. I shouldn't have taken a photo of it and sent it to my friend. Usually, those free gifts are high-quality imitations or counterfeits. My friend hates fake goods the most. When he sees the photo later, he'll be furious. After Hu Jinsong finished speaking, he directly threw the watch onto the table. He looked as if he would dirty his hands if he held the watch any longer. Following that, Hu Jinsong used a lecturing tone and said, Lin Fan, I don't mean to criticize, but we're all old classmates here. There's no point in putting on a show by using a watch. Just ask our classmates. Who would use counterfeit goods to act? In fact, some of the people present had bought counterfeit goods in private. However, they would never admit it. They had to keep their dignity. If they admitted it, would they not be revealing the fact that they were not doing well and could only afford fake goods? Therefore, everyone there shook their heads. The quality of counterfeit goods is much worse than the real ones. I never use fake goods. If you don't have enough money, just buy something slightly inferior. Why buy counterfeit goods? Yang Wenshu waved her Gucci bag and said, those who use fake goods are all poor losers. My husband never buys fake goods for me. Yang Wenshu hugged Du Lei's arm and rubbed it up and down. Feeling the softness on his arm, Du Lei's anger gradually dissipated. Lin Fan listened to everyone's words. They were like countless flies buzzing around. He was finally a little angry and shouted, "As long as I like it, it's none of your business." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the Vacheron Constantine tour de Lille back and put it on his wrist again. Instantly, the expressions of everyone in the private room darkened even more. Lin Fan had just scolded them. Shen Liang thought that if he had not asked Lin Fan to take off his watch, this would not have happened. "Everyone's almost done eating," he said. "Let's go to the karaoke shop to sing some songs." "All right, let's go." "Let's go." All the students agreed. "I won't be going," Lin Fan said. The main reason why Lin Fan was attending this class reunion was that he wanted to meet a few of his good friends from high school. Unfortunately, they did not come. Lin Fan was already giving face to his classmates by staying long enough for this meal. Naturally, he would not follow them to sing. "I have something to do later," Chin Yuwan said as well. "I won't be going to sing with you all. Have a good time." Many people were happy to know that Lin Fan was not joining them. However, the beauty, Chin Yuwan, was not going as well. They were sad to hear this. Therefore, many people tried to stop her. In response, Chin Yuwan rejected all of them, saying that she had something to do at home. "Do you need me to send you back?" Lin Fan asked casually. "Then, I'll have to thank you for going through the trouble," Chin Yuwan said with a smile. Lin Fan was stunned. In fact, he had only asked casually. He did not expect Chin Yuwan to really agree. However, since he had already asked her, he could not go back on his words, right? Thus, the two of them walked to the parking lot together. This scene was seen by all. Is there something going on between the two of them? How could Chin Yuwan be interested in him? They're heading to the parking lot. Lin Fan doesn't have a car, right? A taxi just entered the parking lot. He's probably taking that, right? Wang Haoqi said. As soon as he said that, all the students' faces were filled with disdain. In their opinion, one should use a luxury car to send a beauty like Chin Yuwan home. A taxi? It was simply embarrassing. "My husband drives me home in a Mercedes-Benz or BMW, Yang Wenshu sneered. A taxi? Lin Fan is really shameless. Hu Jinsong looked at Lin Fan's and Chin Yuwan's backs as they walked away and said, "My BMW 5 Series is also in that direction." "Hu Jinsong, I think you should send Chin Yuwan home," Wang Haoqi said. Although Wang Haoqi was also fascinated by Chin Yuwan's beauty, he only had a Corolla that cost 100,000 yuan, so it was not appropriate for him to bring up the matter of giving Chin Yuwan a ride. Wang Haoqi hated Lin Fan. He would rather have Hu Jinsong send Chin Yuwan back than give Lin Fan the slightest chance. "Yeah, we can't let Beauty Chin take a taxi home. Otherwise, her family will think that we're mistreating her." "That's right." Everyone agreed. Hu Jinsong's heart leaped with joy. He had been drooling over Chin Yuwan for a long time. If he could use the matter of sending her home to get closer to her, or if something happened between them. Thinking up to this point, Hu Jinsong's heart burned with passion. He swallowed his saliva and said, "But what about our karaoke session?" "Don't worry, we'll book a private room and wait for you," Wang Haoqi said. "This won't be appropriate, right?" Hu Jinsong pretended to be put in a difficult position. While everyone was chatting, Lin Fan and Chin Yuwan continued to walk forward unhurriedly. Someone in the crowd then pointed to a place not far away and exclaimed, "Guys, look! There's a supercar over there. What a cool sports car! It looks like a Lamborghini." Everyone gasped in admiration. "That's the Lamborghini I told you about," Hu Jinsong said. "My BMW is just next to it." "Huh? Why is Lin Fan walking toward the Lamborghini?" someone asked. "I think Lin Fan wants to take some photos," Wang Haoqi said. "Take photos? Why is he doing something so embarrassing?" "Chin Yuwan is right beside him," someone else said. "Lin Fan won't just take photos. Yang Wenshu sneered. Maybe he'll even go over and touch it. In the future, he'll tell others that he once touched a Lamborghini. Just like how he used to pursue after me shamelessly. I don't know where he heard some private information about me, but he actually dared to talk nonsense and say that I was the one pursuing him. Hearing this, Du Lei's expression became even calmer. He patted Yang Wenshu's waist and said, "Wenshu, I don't believe his nonsense." "Look, Lin Fan is really walking to the side of the Lamborghini," someone said. "It's more than that. He's touching the door handle. Let's see what he'll do when the car owner sees him." At this point, everyone's faces were full of ridicule. At the same time, they looked around, hoping that the car owner would appear soon. Hu Jinsong stopped in his tracks. He wanted to see this scene as well. However, in the next moment, everyone's faces froze. It was because Lin Fan opened the car door of the Lamborghini and got in with Chin Yuwan. In the end, the Lamborghini let out a deep roar and quickly disappeared from the parking lot. Silence. The entire place was silent. Everyone was dumbstruck. The primary upload of this chapter happened on N0V3. N0V3L equals B, J, N. Lin Fan actually drove the Lamborghini? That car was his? Did he not only earn a few thousand yuan a month? What was going on? Wang Haoqi laughed coldly. Lin Fan is such a hypocrite. He actually rented a car to attend the class reunion. This must have cost him a month or two of his salary, right? He wanted to look well off for the class reunion. As soon as he said that, a look of realization appeared on everyone's faces. That's right. He rented that Lamborghini. Lin Fan came from a very average family. He could not afford a Lamborghini at all. At the thought of this, the contemptuous look on everyone's faces became even more intense. Ring, ring, ring. At this moment, Hu Jinsong's phone started ringing. Hu Jinsong, where did the photo of the watch you just sent me come from? Xiao Bo's muffled voice sounded from the other end. Oh, that watch? Hu Jinsong laughed. It's my old classmate's watch. Speaking up to this point, Hu Jinsong immediately turned on the speaker. He wanted to show off his connections to his classmates. At the same time, he wanted to use more evidence to prove that Lin Fan's Lamborghini was a rented one. After all, it was impossible for a person who wore an imitation watch to own a Lamborghini. F***CK. You're awesome. Xiao Bo's voice on the phone immediately became extremely excited. What's wrong? Hu Jinsong asked, puzzled. That watch is Vacheron Constantin Tour de Lille, and there are only 7 of them in the world. Now, the price of each one is at least 10 million. Moreover, there's demand but no supply. Your classmate is so awesome. He actually owns this watch. Xiao Bo's voice became more and more excited over the phone. Silence. The entire venue was in silence once again. A watch worth tens of millions. Everyone's breathing stopped. One could rent a Lamborghini. However, there were only 7 of those watches in the world, and each one was worth tens of millions. It was absolutely impossible to rent it. The only answer was that the watch and the Lamborghini both belonged to Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the living embodiment of the god of wealth. He was not pretending at all. Everyone looked in the direction that the Lamborghini had left with complicated expressions and different thoughts. Among them, Yang Wenshu and Hu Jinsong had the most complicated feelings. Yang Wenshu was filled with regret. If she had been a little braver in high school, she might have been able to become Lin Fan's girlfriend. She would have married into a rich family. Hu Jinsong was still in a state of shock. He recalled how he had casually juggled the Vacheron Constantin Tour de Lille earlier, and his little heart trembled in fear. It would have been a nightmare if he accidentally damaged the Vacheron Constantin Tour de Lille. Chin Yuwan, who was sitting in the Lamborghini, looked around curiously. Lamborghini Aventador, she said with a sweet smile. It's worth 10 million yuan in the country. I've never sat in such an expensive car before. My dear classmate, you've really spoiled me today. Thanks. This isn't the most expensive car you've ever taken. After all, any subway would cost a few $100 million, Lin Fan said. That seems to be the case. Chin Yuwan laughed. Instantly, her impression of Lin Fan improved. He kept a low profile but had an interesting personality, which was really rare. Then, Chin Yuwan started to observe Lin Fan even more closely. He had a strong body, was fit, and was fashionable too. Chin Yuwan could not help but compare him to when he was in high school. The impression she had of Lin Fan back in high school was that he was a young and handsome man. The current Lin Fan had a mature manliness on top of his good looks. Chin Yuwan seemed to have realized that she had been staring at Lin Fan for too long and that it was a little rude. Her face turned red. Lin Fan, what are you planning to do later? After sending you home, I'm going back to the hotel to sleep, Lin Fan said. You're staying in a hotel? Chin Yuwan asked. Yes, I'm temporarily staying in a hotel, Lin Fan said. Chin Yuwan thought for a moment and said, it's late in the night now. Why don't we go for supper? I know a good place. Lin Fan could not help but look at Chin Yuwan with a strange look. Supper? Did she not say that she had something to do at home later? Chin Yuwan seemed to have thought of this as well, and her face, which had just returned to normal, blushed again. At the restaurant earlier, Lin Fan was practically left alone in a corner. No one talked to him at all. Therefore, Lin Fan was eating non-stop. At this moment, his stomach was already slightly bulging. However, it would be a little boring to go back to the hotel directly. All right, you can point me in the right direction, he replied. All right. Chin Yuwan said happily. Before long, they arrived at a restaurant, Miss. Miss was a restaurant located on the riverbank. It was really nice to be able to sit inside and enjoy the scenery of the river while eating delicious food. Lin Fan ordered some skewers, scallops, and buns. How's your alcohol tolerance? Lin Fan asked. I can drink a little, Chin Yuwan said. Then, I'll have a bottle of Ace of Spades. Lin Fan nodded. The waiter's eyes immediately lit up. Ace of Spades cost 8,888 yuan per bottle. It was the most expensive alcohol in the shop. Just by selling this bottle of alcohol, the waiter would be able to get a hefty commission. While waiting for the food, Lin Fan secretly observed Chin Yuwan. Even though it had been years since they graduated, time had not left any traces on her face. She was still as quiet and pleasant as before, and her figure had improved over the years. Overall, 95 points. Very quickly, the alcohol and food were served. Lin Fan swirled the clear alcohol in the glass, then slowly poured it into his mouth. His every move was very simple. However, they were all so elegant. It was as though Lin Fan was not drinking alcohol at all. Instead, he was like a world-class pianist who was playing a beautiful tune on stage. It was so fascinating. Chin Yuwan, who was sitting across from him, was a little dazed. The drinking gentleman had endless charm. Clink. When Lin Fan placed the glass on the table, it rang clear and crisp. Chin Yuwan quickly looked away. Although Chin Yuwan had not started drinking yet, her pretty face was already completely flushed. Chin Yuwan took a big gulp of wine as if to cover it up. Lin Fan commented, "It's rich and refreshing. At the same time, it has a special fruity fragrance. It's not bad. This Ace of Spades is authentic." He had heard that many places often used fake alcohol to trick people to make money. Lin Fan poured himself another glass of wine and drank it all in one gulp. It's a pity that the fruity fragrance is coming off a little strong and the smell of alcohol is too light. In comparison, Louis XIII tastes a little better. I'll have a bottle of Louis XIII, Lin Fan said. It was obvious that after tasting the ace of spades, Lin Fan's alcohol addiction had been triggered. "We don't have Louis XIII here," the waiter said apologetically. "If you want, I can help you get it from other stores." "Okay, then I'll give you 50,000 yuan. Take the extra as a tip. However, I have a request." "It must be authentic," Lin Fan said. The waiter almost jumped up in excitement. "A bottle of Louis XIII only costs about 30,000. 50,000. He could get a tip of more than 10,000 yuan. This was already equivalent to a few months of his salary. The waiter immediately patted his chest and promised, "Sir, don't worry. I know the owner of that shop. I can guarantee that it's authentic." Lin Fan nodded and transferred 50,000 yuan to the waiter. If it was someone else who was ordering a bottle of alcohol that cost tens of thousands of yuan, Chin Yuwan would definitely think that he was showing off his wealth. She would feel repulsed. However, Lin Fan's gentlemanly actions when he drank in his clear eyes when he bought the alcohol made Chin Yuwan think he was not showing off his wealth. It was pure love and appreciation for wine. Skill, drinking gentleman, unlimited charm. Not long after, the panting waiter placed a beautifully packaged bottle of Louis XIII on the table. "Sir, your drink," the waiter said excitedly. With a soft thud, the bottle cap fell to the ground. He slowly poured some of the light red cognac into the glass. Lin Fan first sniffed it, then poured it into his mouth. "Great job. It's authentic," Lin Fan said. "Thank you for the compliment, sir," the waiter said happily. It would have been normal for the waiter to want to stay by Lin Fan's side all the time now. That way, he would be sure to get more benefits. However, the waiter glanced at Chin Yuwan, who was sitting opposite Lin Fan. He understood what he should do and said, "If you need anything else, just call me over." Looking at how Lin Fan was enjoying himself, Chin Yuwan followed suit and tried a mouthful of Louis XIII. However, she choked and coughed. "Are you all right? Louis XIII is nice, but it's too strong. Ace of spades is more suitable for women." Chin Yuwan took a bite of the skewers and said, "I'm fine. I'm fine." At the start, Lin Fan did not eat much and only drank a few glasses of alcohol. However, as time passed, the food in his stomach was gradually digested. Therefore, he also started eating. The two of them looked at each other as they reminisced about their time in high school. They talked and laughed in a relaxed manner. Chin Yuwan had only drunk 3 small glasses of wine, but when she left Miss, her face was as red as a ripe apple. On the other hand, Lin Fan did not show much of a reaction. It was as if he had only drunk 2 bottles of water. Chin Yuwan stood at the entrance of Miss, looking at the river view in the distance. She sighed satisfiedly, "It's so beautiful." Lin Fan pointed to a place not far away. "We can only see a small part of the river from here. When we get to the hill, not only will we be able to see the entire river, but we can also see the entire Jiangbei city." "Then let's hurry over," Chin Yuwan said excitedly. Lin Fan nodded his head and walked forward. Standing on the hillside, one could see the flowing Milky Way above both sides of the river. The stars north of the river were shining like bright flames in the sky. Chin Yuwan's beautiful black eyes flickered as she exclaimed, "It's so beautiful." Pitter-patter. At this moment, the sound of water came from behind them. Then, 4 men with dyed hair who were reeking of alcohol walked out of the shadows while still zipping up their pants. "Hey, there's a pretty girl here. Hey, pretty lady, do you want to hang out with us? I'll make you happy." "That's right." The 4 of them looked at Chin Yuwan's sweet face and perfect figure. Under the influence of alcohol, they were like hungry wolves, their eyes full of desire. Chin Yuwan looked at the 4 guys who were getting closer and closer, and her expression darkened. The scenery here was beautiful, but the surroundings were a little deserted, and there were no surveillance cameras at all. Moreover, it did not seem like she could afford to offend these 4 people either. Furthermore, they had been drinking. Chin Yuwan's face was covered in sweat. Lin Fan hissed coldly, "Get lost before I get angry." This sentence did not scare the four of them away. "Pretty lady, this is your man, right? I can tell that he's a softie. I don't think he has ever satisfied you. Today, we'll give you a good time." The red-haired man laughed, revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. "That's right. Let's have a good time." The other 3 laughed along. As the 4 of them spoke, they continued to move forward. "Chin Yuwan, stand back a little," Lin Fan said. After saying that, Lin Fan unhurriedly rolled up his sleeves. The next moment, he took a step forward. A fierce and swift fist landed on the red-haired thug's face. Thud! The terrifying force sent the redhead flying to the ground. However, Lin Fan did not stop there. Thud! Thud! Then, he threw punch after punch at the red-haired man's face like a storm. The red-haired man's nose was broken, his teeth had fallen out, and his face became a bloody mess. He passed out. Only then did Lin Fan stand up and punch the green-haired man's chest. Crack! The ribs in the man's chest were broken. Crack! Crack! Lin Fan continued swinging his fists and broke more than 10 ribs, sending the man to the ground like a slop. The other 2 people were scared out of their wits, and they turned to run. However, Lin Fan jumped out like a leopard and broke one of their arms and another one's legs. The whole process was extremely cruel and bloody. Chin Yuwan hated violence, but she did not take her eyes off Lin Fan's every move. It was as if Lin Fan was not resorting to violence at all. Instead, he was performing a beautiful dance that would captivate anyone. Skill, violent aesthetics, true manliness. He was low-key, introverted, humorous, fashionable, gentlemanly when drinking, and even beautiful when fighting. At long last, Chin Yuwan fell head over heels for him. Ding! Charm aura, triggered unforgettable memory. The next moment, Chin Yuwan could not help but jump into Lin Fan's arms. The next day, the sun was high in the sky. Cars were coming and going on the road, making it very lively. In the presidential suite of Hilton Hotel, Chin Yuwan was like a docile kitten, curled up on the big white bed. After a long time, her long eyelashes finally fluttered and she slowly opened her eyes. Chin Yuwan looked around and recalled the scene from last night. She quickly covered her delicate body with the bedsheet stained with some red. At that moment, Lin Fan walked in slowly with a bowl of vegetable and lean meat porridge in his hands. Chin Yuwan wanted to get out of bed, but the pain in her lower abdomen prevented her from doing so. Lin Fan hurriedly said, "Yuwan, don't get up. It was tough on you last night. Get some more rest." Chin Yuwan's pretty face immediately blushed when he said that. "I'll feed you the porridge." Lin Fan walked to the bed and said, "I want to brush my teeth first. Can you go out for a while?" "I can get up now," Chin Yuwan said while blushing. "Do you need my help?" Lin Fan asked. No need, Chin Yuwan said. Lin Fan did not force her. He nodded and walked out of the room. When he arrived in the living room, it was exactly 12 o'clock. His phone vibrated, and a red packet appeared. Ding! Congratulations, you've received 1 yuan. Ding! Congratulations, you've received a 10x spending return card. Ding! Congratulations, you've received 29,999. Ding! Congratulations, you have received 2 yuan. It was now 12:01 p.m. Prompt, there are still 23 hours and 59 minutes until the next red packet. Note, for every 10,000 yuan you spend, you can immediately receive a red packet. Lin Fan pouted. I spent tens of thousands of dollars yesterday and all I got was cash. Today's red packets are all cash again. If other people knew what Lin Fan said, who knew what they would think? one had to know that he had drawn tens of thousands of cash yesterday. Today, he received tens of thousands of cash and a 10x spending return card. However, Lin Fan despised it? Lin Fan then turned his attention to the system. Name, Lin Fan. Level, LV3. Level 3 reward, 5 yuan for every breath, 5 yuan for every second of sleep, and 5 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost, 350000/1 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. Charm, 92, closely related to appearance, clothing, and mental state, but skills, professional driving skills, charming aura, 5% chance to trigger love at first sight and unforgettable love, violent aesthetics, drinking gentleman. Funds, 1.38 million, all funds come from reasonable and legal sources. There is no need to worry about direct use, but about an hour later, Chin Yuwan finally got dressed and walked out of the room. Compared to yesterday, she was surrounded in a uniquely feminine aura today. Chin Yuwan pounced into Lin Fan's arms. Her body trembled slightly as tears flowed down her face like a clear spring. Yuwan, why are you crying? Who made you angry? Lin Fan said. No, it's not that. I'm not crying. I'm just happy. Chin Yuwan wiped away the tears on her face. Back in high school, Chin Yuwan had already developed a good impression of Lin Fan. Now, Lin Fan had become her man. It was perfect. Lin Fan caressed Chin Yuwan's slim waist and said, Yuwan, don't worry. I'll always take care of you. Alright. Chin Yuwan nodded. The two of them coaxed each other for a while, then they had lunch together. Lin Fan, I'm going to Moto City later, Chin Yuwan said. So fast? Lin Fan said. It took me a lot of effort to join my supervisor's project. Tomorrow, the project will officially begin. I want to work hard to achieve something. Chin Yuwan answered in all earnesty. With Lin Fan's current abilities, he could easily provide Chin Yuwan with the best life. However, Lin Fan knew very well that Chin Yuwan was a strong and ambitious woman. If she was like a canary that got locked in a gorgeous cage and fed well, she would not be happy at all. Lin Fan said, but what about your body? Don't worry. I'm fine. Chin Yuwan said with a smile. Alright, I'll send you to Moto City later, Lin Fan said. Chin Yuwan had already bought an economy class ticket to Moto City. According to her, the flight would not take more than an hour to reach Moto City, so it did not matter which cabin they took. However, Lin Fan still insisted on changing the tickets to first class. Just like that, Chin Yuwan fell asleep on the spacious first-class seat. When Chin Yuwan and Lin Fan walked out of the airport, it was already 5:30 p.m. A slightly puzzled voice suddenly rang out in the distance. Yuwan? Moly. Chin Yuwan turned around and asked in surprise. So it really is you, Yuwan. We're totally besties. We even took the same flight at the same time, Huang Moly said happily. Yeah, I didn't expect that either. Chin Yuwan said. Huang Moly seemed to have only just noticed Lin Fan, who was standing at the side. She asked, who's this? Hello, I'm Yuwan's boyfriend, Lin Fan. Lin Fan took the initiative to introduce himself. Your boyfriend? Huang Moly looked at Chin Yuwan with a questioning gaze. Chin Yuwan held onto Lin Fan's arm and introduced, Lin Fan, this is my roommate, Huang Moly. When Huang Moly heard that, she could not help but size Lin Fan up. She said, you're quite handsome. However, our Yuwan is the famous campus belle of Moda University. Who knows how many handsome guys and young masters are pursuing her? Hurry up and tell me, how did you manage to trick Yuwan into your hands? I didn't trick Yuwan, Lin Fan said, my sincerity moved her. Not bad. However, I still have to test your sincerity toward her. Do you mind treating us roommates to dinner? Huang Moli said with a cheeky smile. Of course not. However, it's my first time in Moto City, so I'm not too familiar with it. So, I'll have to ask you guys to make the reservation, Lin Fan said. No problem. Huang Moli said happily. Then, she took out her phone and sent a message to their other roommates. At the restaurant, Peninsula. Lin Fan and the other two had just sat down when an average-sized girl walked over and said, Zhang Jin has something on. She can't make it. This is Wan Yuaro, Chin Yuwan introduced the girl to Lin Fan. This is my boyfriend, Lin Fan, she said after a pause. Wan Yuaro said, Yuan, you got yourself a boyfriend without saying a word. I don't know how many guys at the university are going to cry. By the way, how did you two meet? We were high school classmates, Chin Yuwan said. Oh. No wonder you've never fallen in love with someone else. It turns out that you already had someone in your heart all this while. Wan Yuaro laughed. Lin Fan, our Yuan has been waiting for you for so many years. Don't let her down in the future. Don't worry, I'll definitely be good to Yuan forever, Lin Fan said. They were all youngsters, so they chatted and laughed without being overly formal with each other. The food in this restaurant was very cheap. It cost 1,500 yuan in total for 4 people. Clearly, Huang Moli and Wan Yuaro was trying to do Lin Fan a favor. Ring, ring, ring. At this moment, Wan Yuaro's phone rang. After hanging up, Wan Yuaro said, My Cartier earrings have been fixed. The shop is just in front. Do you guys want to go together and take a look around? Sure, I haven't gone shopping in a long time. Besides, it's still early. Huang Moli said. Lin Fan and Chin Yuwan nodded, indicating that they were willing to come along.
Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and see you in the next chapter.